We are here with Chief Justice Cheri Beasley. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's an honor. It's an honor. Now, may you please tell me your journey that brought you to this position of Chief Justice? May you please tell me?
Well, I went to college just like you're in college, and I went to law school. I had actually hoped to come to North Carolina Central University Law School. I got accepted and was on my way. And then about 3 weeks before law school was supposed to start, I got a full scholarship from the University of Tennessee. So I'm a graduate of the University of Tennessee College of Law. And I have an LLM or Master's of Laws in Judicial Studies. I have worked as an assistant public defender. I've served as a judge for 21 years now. I was a district court judge in Fayetteville, Cumberland County for 10 years. I served on the North Carolina Court of Appeals for 4 years. I've served on the Supreme Court for 7. And I've served as Chief Justice for almost a year and a half.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing. Now, at one point in your life, what made you feel that this is what I wanted to do? This is my purpose that I need to fulfill?
Honestly, I wasn't even really sure that I was going to law school. I applied to many kinds of graduate degree programs. I applied for business and public health and social work and law, and ultimately, after working after college at the Tennessee Human Relations Commissions, where we were investigating claims of discrimination, really, I knew I would be an advocate, but I wasn't necessarily sure I'd be a lawyer. I'm glad I went to law school, and I didn't set out to be a judge. I was an adult by the time I saw an African-American woman serving as a judge. I didn't even know how to think it or dream it for myself. And thankfully, an opportunity came my way after I had served in the public defender's office for 5 years, and I sought it after being encouraged by some of my colleagues, and it worked out that the governor appointed me, and I've been well on my way ever since.
Wow, that's powerful. A lot that you have accomplished. As we look back on the history of the Chief Justice position in North Carolina, 1962, the first female Chief of Justice. 1982, the first African-American male Chief of Justice. 2019, the first African-American female Chief of Justice. Please tell me, how much does that mean to you, the fact that you rewrote history?
Well, the Supreme Court is 200 years old, and it took that long to have an African-American woman to serve as Chief Justice. I think what it means to me is that it means so much to so many people. When I became the Chief Justice, I literally received messages from people from all over the world that in some way they felt that this appointment in my service was a victory for themselves. I mean, there are not that many African-American women chiefs anywhere in the world. There are only 2 in this nation, and there have only been 4 in this nation ever. And so, so my service is really far greater than my service on the North Carolina Supreme Court. It really, it's paramount to the potential of all African American women who strive to work hard, and for all of us to appreciate the fact that all of our institutions, to include our courts, fare far better when we have diversity and when we appreciate diverse leadership. All of our state Supreme Courts, frankly, ought to look a whole lot like North Carolina's and our population. It should not be a monolithic court, and I'm really pleased to tell you that we have the most diverse court in the nation with 3 African Americans, 3 women, and the first Jewish member in 200 years. So we should all be very proud of that.
It's excellent. What are some leadership qualities that are needed for this position?
We have courts all over the state, and so I lead the Supreme Court of North Carolina, but I also lead the entire judicial branch of government. There are more than 300 court facilities and almost 7,000 elected officials and court employees across the state. And I think it takes a sense of understanding how people work. I think it takes, for me, I appreciate collaboration and input from others, but I also believe, especially given that we're in a pandemic, that it takes bold and courageous leadership. We have the pandemic on the one hand, and we also have heightened racial tensions on the other. And I do think it's important for me as the Chief Justice to be cognizant of the not just heightened racial tensions and the outcry from people all over North Carolina and the nation, but also that the courts have a role in dispelling the perception that people have that there are two kinds of justice. And it's not just their perception, we have the data to support that. So as Chief Justice, it really does take courageous leadership to say we can do better and that we must do better. And I have spent my entire time as Chief Justice to do not only that, but to really make justice accessible to people, to provide means by which people who come to court and represent themselves, and frankly that's over half of the people who come to court can't afford lawyers. And so it's important to have systems in place and programs in place where people can represent themselves and navigate through the system in a way that they can understand it and it's a little bit easier.
Now, with this being an HBCU tour, what made you say, let's do an HBCU tour?
Well, I care a whole lot about North Carolina Central University anyway, and you certainly know my ties here. I have an honorary doctorate. But even before then, I had already begun to pay my membership dues to the Alumni Association. I didn't even know I could be an associate alumnus until invited by a friend, and so I had paid my dues before, but I had been very engaged in the law school and in other endeavors here at the university. And HBCUs produce scholars, and I very much appreciate this university as well as others. And I know that it's important for young people to really understand the empowerment in being engaged. You certainly have the knowledge, you are well prepared to lead in this world in so many ways and in so many disciplines. You are teaching those of us who are older in so many ways through technology and so many other ways. And I just wanted to really emphasize the importance between the nexus between all that you have to offer the world and your place and position in helping those around you make important decisions, whether it's through the electoral process, through all the ways in which your universities are working with research and scholarship and all the ways in which you're touching the world. People need to recognize that there are stars at these universities. We've all known this from our communities, but it's important for the rest of the world to know that. And it really is important for you to appreciate the fact that you have an opportunity to make an imprimatur on not just your communal societies, but with the world around you.
Thank you for that. Now, as a student, what is the best way to encourage my peers the importance of voting?
You know, I think this pandemic, as you and I were talking before, it's totally reshaped the way your educational experience is coming to you, and so you're not having the same kind of socialization experiences with your colleagues here on campus. Your teaching methods have to necessarily be different, and that presents real challenges. And I also think that we have, certainly not in your lifetime, lived through a period of time where you have seen this kind of activity and protest around racial disparities in our communities. And I think the pandemic, compounding with the heightened racial tensions, really presents an opportunity. Though lots of challenges, I think all of that makes us stronger on the other side. But it really will be your generation that leads the way. And older people don't always say it quite that way, but it really will be you. It will be you that comes up with the new ideas. It will be you that comes up with the new ways that we think about justice and how we apply justice and make sure that everybody has justice accessible to all of us. And so it really will be your generation. But I want you to feel that sense of empowerment. And the protesting is powerful. But the exclamation point on the protest really is the voting.
Right.
Because you are the one who gets the chance to determine who serves you. And that's a very powerful position to have. And it's important to utilize it. The world should know that the students and faculty and staff at North Carolina Central University will come out and vote their conscience. And often we think about it just in terms of selecting leaders, but really it's so much more than that. As you think about your university as a research university, there's an impact there when people see that kind of leadership from your university. So that the impact of voting and empowerment and leadership across the board has widespread impact on how you serve and how people see you.